Test mic 1 2 3. Test mic 1 2 3. Test test the mic. Test test the mic. Test the mic. Test mic. Test mic. Okay, I think this is fine. But test the mic. Let's change the zoom like that. Test mic. Shouldn't be too close. Let's see if it changes. For reference, again, is since the canvas, and there's a lot of gray in it, so I used white in these mixtures to create this yellow.
I understand. You said you didn't want it right now.
Gemini is so helpful. Good way to approach the painting, and glazing doesn't have to be like strict. Okay, but if you want strict, again, just like I did with my grandma's portrait, is to start with a really clean underpainting grisaille, which is a little bit bluish, which you can achieve by adding white. And your black and white should be like using a high contrast image that should give you a correct underpainting. Like for example, in a low contrast, you're gonna get grays here, right? But in a high contrast, that's going to disappear. What you're going to be left with is the darkest dark will appear, but the midtones will not be shaded in a black and white high contrast image. So having a black and white high contrast black and white image as your reference, or a goal when creating the underpainting or the grisaille or the verdaccio, that's going to allow you to create oranges like this that are actually clean. Okay, but just want to move from that and continue with this, and noticing the yellows here, right? In the face we don't have that, but we're gonna recreate that here just to show you. The skin is not really, if you remove the reds from a white person's skin, you're gonna see a lot of this yellow, dull yellow. It's not dull that is dark, but it's dull in that the yellow is not as strong as this would look like, right? Because this is combined with blue now it looks green, but our brains are looking at it and it knows that there's a blue underneath and a yellow on top, so we can call this yellow or green. We can perceive it as a green or a yellow, especially in real life, because the brain is actually seeing both colors and mixing it in our minds. So in reality, when you're looking at human skin, it's not really pink like this. It's yellow, but a very dull yellow. And then as it turns, since our environment color, the shade is bluish, it becomes like this grayish greenish color as it turns away from the light. Okay, so we can recreate that here, or we can continue building this up as if it was lit by a orange or yellow light. So the confusion there might trick me to go both ways, but we'll see. We'll see where this painting takes us. So what I really want to do is handle the background first. And there are two ways we can do that. Either we can cover it, or we can just keep it like this. Now what I'm gonna do now is use burnt umber mixed with yellow, yellow ochre. It's going to give us like a dark orange, a dark yellow, and then mix that with some blue. My blues are like speed dryers. This is not even it's not a alkyd paint, but it dries so fast. I don't know. So it gives us this olive green color, and that's what I'm gonna use now to see what we get if I add that here in the dark. Now if you don't want to deal with handle like blending, it's okay. Just use thin uh, amounts of paint, and then just, you know, you don't have to make it like so blended, overly blended. That's what they call it. But it's not really that. You can, blending doesn't have to look wrong. It's part of your creative expression, so you can use it like however you like. There's no rule against that. It's just that some blendings look off, but some look right. So you can create like this hyper blended images, which I saw someone did, and it looks good. I like his images. The rendering wasn't the focus, but it was this weird, like he's making this weird, like dream like images, just like that famous artist who painted those like clocks, melted clocks and stuff. I think I have to use all of my blue now from my cup. I had to transfer it because it was hardening in the tube, and I don't want to keep opening the tube. But still, it's still usable right now. So again, the purpose of this was, again, first to just cheat our way through by mixing our colors right here, right? So we were not aiming for like a good step by step. And that entailed for us to like anticipate what it would look like if we did the layers correctly, or if we did the layers process, the layering process. We would use the same principles, which again, the point of that process was to teach us like the amount of white that is there and then the amount of yellow that is there. By doing glazing, we understand, we see our mistakes. We find it that if we do too much blue, if we do too much gray, this is going to be the result. So when we mix that in an alla prima, we know that this amount of white would create this type of color, and this amount of blue mixed with red and orange stuff. So it's kind of like if we are having then a blank space, a blank page. So if we immediately painted it with color, we will have to mix in our palette the ratios of white, red, yellow, and blue to achieve the same color that we practiced using glazing or layering. Right? Because if in layering, if we made a mistake in the, let's say, in the gray area, we can immediately correct it. So before we proceed with other colors, we can correct it just like what we did here. Like our gray is too dark here, so what we did was add more white there. It looks right. There are plenty of benefits doing this process. It's not gonna be like an immediate success, of course, just like anything else. But the benefits are there. Like for example, if you start with a grisaille, right? Like it's just like starting with a sketch. If you have a sketch, you know that if you need to make a change, then you can do it. So while having the sketch, you can now see, like, foresee what would look like once we start like adding colors. It's the same principle. We jump immediately to alla prima, of course it's fine, just like what I did with Matilda. Was it Matilda? Like what I did with that character. I think it's here. It's like on one of my lives. We can do that. It's the same principle actually. Just the steps are just broken up so you can, like for example, once we've dealt with the yellows, the yellow layer, we made that correct, then we can move on to adding our greens, which is just simply by adding blues, right? But sometimes it's best to start with blue, blues and reds and yellows. Let me check the video. Maybe it's too dark on your side. because, let me see. It looks too dark. Kinda does look dark on YouTube. Dark. It does look dark on YouTube. I think that's fine. So again, if you think this is messy, too messy to look at, in real life, it doesn't look too contrast like this. It doesn't. I don't see it as I see it on the camera, on the phone. On the phone, there's like all of this ridges of the canvas is so obvious. The smoothness is not captured here. So it the contrast is too much. So it's very visible on the camera. All of these patches here that are visible on the camera, it's not too obvious in real life. But it's there, right? So it kind of looks like it's been scratched. It's like a crayon type image, and that's fine. For me, I like stuff like that too, and I like something like digital style, like it's too very clean. I also like that. And if you want this to look like clean, example the background, just add white, like we mixed the colors, right? Burnt umber plus blue plus yellow, right? We mix that, just add white to it, a little bit of white. You mix it first here, so it's going to be a little bit lighter at first, and then just glaze over it again to achieve that color. But you're gonna lose all of these variations that are produced because of the layering, the glazing. Because right here there were grays here, right? And then we glazed. It's the color. Even if we added more paint here, all of this are still present. All of the underpainting of the grays, I don't know if it's called an underpainting, are still there. The texture, the design that was there are still present. So now it looks kind of greenish. Just mix it through there. For me, I kind of like messy images like this. Because, clean paintings, I've been seeing it for like years now. And though I really appreciate them, I'm kind of bored with making them. I could do it. You can find it in my videos. You can do it in acrylic, which is so much better to use. So if you want like a painterly stuff, or this modern style pop art style mixed with traditional, you can also paint like AI. I really like this style where it looks broken and hazy and looks dirty. But I kind of lost my way there because I wanted to see how clean I can make this area here. So I wanted to make the face cleaner than the background, and besides, there were some mistakes in the grayish there. I had too much grace, and if I did just plain glazing, it wouldn't look right to me in my vision. So I just used that. For example, the fingers here, this were like too dark. The corners here were too dark, and I wanted it to be brighter. And there's dark here and here that mark the transition, and I didn't want it to look black because it's gonna make his fingers look dirty, and it's gonna catch attention. So I didn't want that. So I just painted white mixed with red and yellow. Just fade it out, just place it there, and then we can later add like a opaque, either opaque paint, just to fix it. I think there's a correct term for that. I just couldn't find it. I used to know all of those terms. Once I was I was studying glazing using what's this? Acrylic. I'm cleaning my brush, by the way. Just so you know. Again, painting ahead, like just directly painting like you would do in digital, it's a nice experience. But I'm not that kind of artist. I want to know first. I have a vision in my head. Then I start the sketch. While sketching, I'm already seeing the colors before putting them, right? But the sketch phase is like your visualization stage where you actually are, you're not just working at the sketch phase. You're actually thinking about everything else. But this is very like intuitive. It's like it's in your imagination, right? So sometimes if we go directly to paint with colors and stuff, and since colors, values, hues, all of these things are, this would take up space in your brain. So it kind of disrupts your creative process. At least for me. So I'm not that brave, so to speak. I'm just cleaning my palette. By the way, I prepared this morning, and I was thinking it would still be wet, but apparently not. This is Mylar plastic. Mylar plastic. So I like it more than glass because I don't have to worry if it breaks, if I drop it, or Mylar is very solid, strong plastic. I think they use it for like cars and stuff, for printing. I think they're using that. A Mylar, transparent Mylar film, and there's also this sold here Mylar film that is like smoky color. Oh, I need the tissues. Let me grab some tissues for a while. got the tissues. So I was watching Yupari's stream. He was direct painting everything, and some people might look at it and call him a fraud or something because of the image he produced. But you shouldn't do that because we know Yupari has the skills. It's just that and he's brave enough to get on there and then show a process that I I wouldn't do that. I'm too scared. I'm not that brave to do that. And it requires painting. Either you're just going about it in a sketch like what he did. It's just a preliminary. What he did was just a preliminary. So I hope you keep supporting him because he's a nice guy. He's a friend. I shouldn't be talking about him anyway. His channel. But you have to appreciate that what he did is brave. Not many artists here on YouTube are gonna show you that process, but that's just a preliminary process. It's not it's just a sketch. We can actually use that in our own work. Do not be afraid to do things. Okay, so again, what I'm trying to bring to mind here is this yellowish skin. In real life, white people, especially those with pretty skin, right? Like those healthy skin, you can see them on YouTube. So if you remove the reddish parts, you're gonna see this yellow, like tone, yellow hue underneath the reds. So that's what I like about, Yupari, because he's very honest and he's genuine and he's not afraid to explore. I think we should be like that too. Some people might think it's weird, but weird is good sometimes. Not scary weird, but good weird. Right. So again, it's yellowish. A little bit powdery even. Some people might say that powdery is bad, but really it's just a phase. Once you add the reds, everything's gonna change. Now this one has whites in it, and what I'm doing here is removing the grays, a lot of it. I'm just removing the grays. Don't want it to be too gray. I think these parts here are still wet. I'm using a pinkish color. Just remove them. Yupari has taught me a lot. Painting is a lot of stuff, and he's growing as an artist. I really like it. I really like what he did there. And some people, how it is. Let's not dwell on those negativity, but those who know, we know. Those who see can see the value, and some just see an opportunity to, do stuff not good. I really don't want to talk about it anymore. I don't know why I even started talking about that. So I'm sorry. I don't mean to offend or to meddle. So I'm just here to encourage. I think my point is to encourage. But my gut is telling me not to talk about it, so I think it's not nice to talk about somebody else's business. It's not healthy, it's improper, and I don't even know why I started talking about it. So I apologize for that. I'm just really, I just admired what you did. I think it's all about, I was leading to like the bravity, your courage to do stuff. I think I just chose the bad example. Not that he's bad, but that I'm not supposed to use him as an example. For me, it's hard. I can't do stuff like that. I need like a plan, a sketch, at least. And when you're sketching, you're like planning ahead. You're seeing everything, like, and it's not even that clear in your mind. So you make a draft, right? Like if you jump in directly and create the paint, of course, that's not going to be the final piece. It's going to be just a draft. And artists do that a lot. And the more we do that, the more we becomes normal, such that our sketches kind of looks closer and closer to like a final piece. But I admire people who can do that, especially in the movie business. Like there are concept artists there that can just they can just make these cool images. They're so used to their digital tools that You know, they already have a palette, color palette. They already have swatches that they can like pull up and then just draw. They kind of like, they're not even painting, they're just sketching with color. So it's similar to what I'm doing here right now. Since I don't have a reference, I'm just winging it basically. I'm just seeing what it would look like if I did that. So his face kind of looks like it's now like swollen here. It's the only way to learn, you know, to be brave enough to do stuff that otherwise it's one way to learn. It's not always the only way to learn. It's one way to learn. It's like cooking, right? You can just wing it, but you have to have foreknowledge. You have to have at least some knowledge to what this tastes like. So when you mix it there, so it's a bitter herb, like. But if you just experiment and just feel everything, just use every ingredient, you'll never know which one made things taste like certain taste. If you didn't know that, you know, pepper was is going to taste bitter if you add too much, and it's gonna make everything too spicy. So if you didn't know that and you just add it in there, you're not gonna figure out which of the ingredients made things taste like too spicy, right? So breaking things up, like, I think this is what I was heading towards with the Yupari. I'm really sorry for making him using him an example. Shouldn't have. Should have stuck with cooking. So by breaking up the process to layers, to phases, you cannot learn to see what's the role of certain colors in a painting. Like, for example, here, the blues. I didn't know this before, that blues and yellows were actually responsible for creating this shadowy backlit environment color lit areas. Not actually the black, it's not actually the brown, it's actually the blues. The glazing, it's not for noobs, it's not for the unrefined. You kind of learn like how all of these colors interact. So it's like cooking step by step. find out like, oh, so the browns do this when mixed with yellow and gray. This is what happens to the colors. This is what we're gonna see, especially for backgrounds, right? That was someone asked before, like, what color did uh, uh, what's this artist Sargent use for this couch? I think it was a couch, right? What color did he use for this? That why does it look like? So what's this color? And then someone said like he just mixed up everything in his palette, and it was only like later that I figured out that it wasn't really that. It was just blue, uh, yellow, and brown, and then some white. Lighten it up. It's really just a light bluish, grayish type, olive color, like olive. So I'm peeling off paint here, not too dry. Needs to be dried out. Like here, I also peel this up. Like you should wait for like 3 days with liquid. So I know if painting is seems like a little bit hard. Difficult is another thing, right? Difficult is something else. Hard is something else. So if it's hard, it's like it's something that you know how to do, but it's just not coming out the way you expect it to based on what you know. So sometimes if it's hard, you just need to find another way to break through it, right? If it's difficult, it means that it's about the complication, like it's complicated. You can solve it, but it's a little complicated. So it needs a lot of steps. So that's what's difficult. So if you find it hard uh, to produce, what you expect, just don't give up. You just need a different set of knowledge. Like you just have to create another solution. So again, now that I know that mixing uh, the olive color with the white and yellow produces this type of color, and if I like it, now I can just mix it here on the palette. Yeah. Now I have this colors. So the olive now, I mixed this olive to that. Maybe add a little bit of orange to it to make it warmer. Then just add more skin highlight to it. Now I have the color that I want. The old masters didn't just like paint. They didn't wing it. They didn't without plan. Everything is planned. Simply because, number one, pigments were expensive back then. So it's like, let's say it costs $1,000 for 35 ml. And of course, you're not gonna want to experiment with that, right? You're gonna reserve it for the final work. You're sure how much color you need. It's expensive. Kinda looks weird. Just come back to it later. It's kinda looks kinda weird to me. I wonder why my burnt umber looks a little bit purplish. Maybe this is a different type of burnt umber. So this is the Montmartre burnt umber, and it kind of has a purplish quality to it. Oh, by the way, why green? Notice that we used like this greenish for the background, right? Greenish color. I don't know if you can see that. So that greenish color, it's now like established as the color of the environment light. So skin really doesn't turn green every time it's in shadow, right? Depends on the light. If you're outside in a green field, like in a forest, or your shadows are gonna have that quality. They kind of have that greenish environment color because it reflects the light. About the light, and here we established here that our our world is this greenish color. So there's a green like light in the environment flowing in the environment. Trying to see if I can like lighten this up a little bit. I'm not sure if this is correct anymore. It just doesn't look right. It's like crooked. I want to lighten it up. See, I can make his face look a little more balanced. So see here, it looks powdery. So I had this problem before, right? So the question is, why does my paint look powdery? My area here. It's because you have the right hue, but not enough saturation. So not enough value. And the value is correct. Yeah, the value is not even correct. So sometimes the value it's too light, but not necessarily, because if it's too bright in that area and it has the correct saturation, it's just gonna look like it's glowing. But if it doesn't have the right saturation in that area, for example here, right, this doesn't have the correct saturation, so it kind of looks like there's powder on it, right? Like here, there's powder on it because it doesn't have the saturation. So when you have a problem that your painting looks like powdery, like this area of the painting looks powdery, just glaze over it with some of that color pure and you'll fix it. Sometimes it's just missing some reds. That's why they say there's too much white, but it doesn't have to be, because white is like what brings up the value, right? So it doesn't have to be that. It's just that in that context here, for example here, this context should have too much color here. Yeah, it should have color, but since it doesn't have enough of that color, it's gonna look like powdered. So let's bring it back, right? Let's just add the reds here. So if you have a problem with powdery, now you have the solution. Yeah. Just check your color and see if you can add more of that color, like make it more. Like if it's yellow, then just see if you can add more yellow. And usually that's gonna solve your problem. I had that problem before. I asked Renzo, and he got like annoyed. I just keep asking him questions, and he was just problem solving his painting live, and I just kept asking him questions, and he got annoyed. So I went about, just forgetting about it. And later I realized that that's the problem. The problem is saturation difference. We can paint everything desaturated, right? You don't have to paint this colored. But sometimes when we chose like a saturation level, like for example, the shadows here looks reddish, right? So if I add something here that doesn't match this type of saturation, it's gonna look weird. Our brains are gonna say that, oh, it's powdery. It's not pure. Add more color to it. Add more pigment. Yellow, red, blue, brown, or whichever. I have this graph before, and before my phone like died, uh, broke. I think I dropped it. I was looking for a brush, and then it dropped, and then I tried to catch it, and by doing so, the phone like flipped around, like, and that added to the velocity of the drop. And as it fell to the ground, it hit the corner, and the phone struck the floor, and it broke it. So if I just left it alone, just let it fall on its own, it might not have broken. Because I tried to save it, kind of tried swirling so fast. Now it's the same with dirty. Like here, it kind of looks dirty. It's still because there's not much color there. Not enough color. So it's too desaturated, so to speak. It's not about because it has too much of this, or too much white, or too much black. The truth is, it's desaturated. So just add more color and see the difference, see if it works. Usually what happens is in the shadows, right? That's where we kind of make it weird sometimes. So we paint the apple, we start with red, then we add this super desaturated shadow color, and then we kind of think that it's too dirty. Kind of see it as having this dirty quality to it. And we're not wrong, because the saturation tells us that that part of the object is covered with something that like prevents the true color from coming out. Because that's what's amazing with painting, is because we're kind of playing with our minds, right? Our brains. We know that these hues and this level of saturation means something to our brain. We kind of play with it. With painting, just I've seen a lot of people who get frustrated with their painting. Like, look at what I'm doing here. It's not really just, I'm not filling it with more and more paint as I become more frustrated. I'm not like adding so much paint just to fix it. Sometimes if your day is not working, like your brain is just not, your colors are not clicking, you're not seeing everything, you're just following the rules and the rules doesn't work, it's not working. So you found this tutorial, right? And it tells you to use these colors and these colors, right? For example, then it turns out that in your work it doesn't work, it doesn't provide the same results. So you become frustrated and just slap on color upon color, paint upon paint upon paint, and messes up your work. So my advice, my suggestion, it's not advice, is to not do that. Just work slowly. Use light paint. Just don't paint a lot. I'm not using a lot of paint. This is so thin. You don't need that thick paint. And having thick paint on your canvas is just another thing to work around. It's just another thing to deal with, right? Because you can no longer remove that color, you can no longer mix another color with that. Now everything is like just filled with thick paint that you can no longer mix in there, right? What I'm doing here, I can mix that, turning this into another, like a palette in itself. And now his face looks fat. Oh, I'm so sleepy. So I'm gonna take a break now. And just, I think what I'm saying is to encourage you, from all that we've talked about right now, is to encourage you to, not be too strict about anything. Right? Not be too, now, order, like step by step process is helpful, but there's a purpose to that. Like what I said, it's, the steps are connected, right? They're not independent of each other. So there's an outcome that is tied to these steps that we are being taught, that we are seeing in the world. So you add this, you boil water, then add the vegetables, and add, these steps are not independent of each other, because they are, the truth is, we're just breaking these steps up so we can follow. But these steps produce a certain outcome. So there's like a fixed outcome to these steps if you do it correctly, right? But these steps in themselves, each of these steps, we need to understand why they are there, right? And if we figure out why they're there, we can then use that knowledge now when we do it intuitively, like without the steps. The steps become part not as an ordered 1, 2, 3 step, but it becomes like a mini thing that we can do to achieve a certain goal, right? Memeng, no. No pee. No pee, no pee. No. Oh, it smells like pee in here. Donnie, come. Come na, come na. Outside lang kay ang balibo. Sige na. You're here. Sige na. Your cat hair is gonna be on the painting. Go. Didn't notice them. Okay, now his face looks fat, but that's okay. So, just take it easy. The steps are there for us to figure out what's going on, right? Like, it's just as simple as like seeing a color and then asking, how do you mix that, right? So you find the ingredients, you find the amount of each ingredient. So it's similar to that. And now we can like use those together. Like, we don't have to follow each step. We can just mix them right away. We don't have to add the blue first, the yellow next. No. We can like anticipate. So if we didn't know, we would add like too much blue at first, right? And then we add yellow, and then we couldn't get that color, so we add more yellow, so we're gonna waste a lot of yellows. So we learned that the steps are just, the yellows will serve as our baseline, so we can adjust it with the blue, right? So that becomes the process, but the goal is always there to create this type of green that we have in our mind, right? But if we understood now that the blue is actually stronger than the yellow, and that's what's creating the trouble. So now when we don't have to start with the yellow, we can start with blue, right? We can start with the smallest amount of blue and then add the yellow. So we kind of become free from the steps now by understanding why each step is there. Why was it there in the first place? Oh, Babaroga. No, I don't remember, but I think there was only one person who I chatted with in the past. How are you doing? Are you okay? I was about to get off the the diary. Oh, that's good. That's good. Nice to hear that you're doing good. Oh, you're the guy that almost got me banned from YouTube. Were you the one who was talking about like cannibalism? Was it you? I don't know. We were talking about cannibalism and stuff. Or was it Dark Angel? I think that was Dark Angel. Anyway, I was about to get off and just closing the statements there on this diary. So I'm glad that you're doing good, Babaroga. So I'll just catch you next time, and I'll just end the stream now. And I hope that helps. Thanks for dropping by, bro. See you later.